We are back. This is Practical Healthy Livings from Duels to Duets. Today's topic is, should mothers forego work to stay home to raise children? And today we are fortunate to have Emily Slinghoff, published books, and is coming out with a new book entitled The Most Important Job. And we're also joined by Elizabeth Hauser, financial representative and working mother. So what I would like to do is ask each of you a question, and we will get started for a few minutes. Then we'll take a break and come back and finish our thoughts. Let's start with Emily. Emily, how are you today?
I'm fine. Thank you. Nice to be here with you.
Can you speak to briefly to how or your thoughts on why mothers should stay at home and not work?
Well, I don't want to ever say what a mother should do. I want to bring out the reasons a mother might choose to stay home. And it is sort of what I just said. Does she care who influences her child? Now, I have just in this book that's coming out written some reasons that mothers do choose to. The job of parenting is a job, for goodness sakes. It's a job all day long and all night long, every day of the week. So it's giving up the job of parenting a little bit to take on another job. And the reasons to do that vary. And the reasons not to do them are other reasons. But if a parent cares to help the child herself, then obviously she wants to be with the child and being loving and attentive, and the child will know it. Now, if she wants to give the child to somebody else to bring up, that's up to her. But a child certainly likes to feel loved and respected. And interesting, the word respect, because I think so many of us have heard, oh gosh, that child needs to be respectful of his mother. Why aren't you respectful of me? Well, the way to have a child respect the parent is for the parent to respect the child from the moment that child comes into the world. And why not? Every person is worthy coming into this world. It's only later on that some people may not be worthy of being respected, but in the beginning they are. Okay.
Thank you for that summary. Elizabeth, you have been a working mother pretty much all through the lives of your children. Can you tell us your perspective on whether mothers should work or not?
Sure. I'll just give you a little background. My husband and I were high school sweethearts. We married a few years out of high school. We waited 5 years to have our first son, and he's 28. And we waited 5 more years. I had to do a lot of talking to get our second child. And he is 23. And they're both very well-respected members of our community. They were planned, prayed for, and very much wanted, very much loved children. When I first had our first son, his name is Ked, I worked as a office manager in an insurance office. So that's where I got into the insurance industry, and then went on to become a marketing director and still worked. But I think that what I want people to see is that children see your work ethic. They understand that even though they are the center of my world, that there are other things. And when there was times when I didn't work, my husband was very ill, I still ended up working. I cleaned houses, but I felt like I was everything to my family, but I wasn't anything to anyone else. And I knew I needed that. So with that being said, I was able to mold my hours around my kid's schedule, my husband's schedule. He worked different. He's a police officer. He worked different hours. So we had to figure out our family dynamic and we did everything that we could together all of the time. We were very, very, very close family. I was able to work in the classroom. I was able to mentor at the school. My kids were sweet, kind, loving children. They have worked since they were 16 years old at the local grocery store. Best thing that ever happened to them. They worked all through college. They were never not going to work. And there was always the expectation of them working, going to school, getting their bachelor's degrees. So I can't really see where there's any downfall to me working. I know that it takes balance. I tried to get to everything I could possibly get to. I worked jobs that might have had a flexible schedule. I went home every night and fixed dinner. We had dinner together. So we did things together all the time. They just knew that mommy worked.
Well, we're going to pause here for a moment, and we will be back in about 60 seconds. Welcome back, friends. We are talking today with Emily Slingoff and Elizabeth Hauser, and today's topic on From Duels to Duets is, should mothers forego work to stay home to raise their children? And Elizabeth, I would like to ask you a question to follow up with what you were discussing before. I know that children from age day one to about 12 years old require a lot of interaction and a lot of support. And the role of parent changes once that child starts to have a little more independence. How was it working when the children were young, and how did it change once the children got older and had more independence?
When they were young, you have to find the right person to help take care of your child. With my husband's hours, sometimes he was able to do those things, and we were able to still, be together as family. And so as they, were very young, it's hard, to find that balance and to work. But I think it does take a village to help raise children. So I found the right people to help me, and they progressed, through life. And with having one about 5 years older than the other, that was helpful as well. As Kyler was growing up, I was able to help out with things. So I think some of that helped. But I don't know. Somehow we worked it all out and figured everything out. A lot of friends helping out. We helped each other out, taking kids to, practices and picking them up. And somehow it all got taken care of. I think all parents have the same issues. It's just you throw other things in the mix as far as, furthering your career. I still think it's good. I still think we did everything right. We never had any trouble with our boys.
How did you go about finding someone to help with the children when they were younger?
I really lucked out. I found a retired couple on both of the kids when they were little, that really, it was like their grandparents. Honestly, I'd go there and, one of them would be asleep. My child would be asleep on their chest. They'd be rocking them and holding them. And it's a good feeling when your kids are loved by somebody else. And So both of my kids had that when they were very little. Um, my oldest did go to a friend that had a couple other little kids there, so got to play with his friends all day, really, and then just go pick him up, and then we'd go home. He probably liked it there better because he had other kids around at the time. But then my youngest child, he went with me for a couple years until I just couldn't do that anymore. He was able to go with me to work for a while, and then I found a retired couple as well, and he still calls them grandparents. Grandma Shirley, she'll still send him a card, or he'll go by and give her a hug. So I feel like I brought extra people into their lives that they wouldn't have had.
Excellent.
Plus, we didn't have relatives here. We moved a little bit away from all of our family for my husband's work. So it's kind of nice to have some grandparents, that they wouldn't have had.
Emily, let me turn to you. Can you tell us more about your perspective about why you believe it's best for mothers to stay at home?
Well, I'll say again, I think I don't want it to be black and white. Different people can do different things, and we love that in life. We can all make our decisions, and there are a whole lot of reasons people do things. Now, I think Elizabeth sounds very dear and like a wonderful mother, wonderful, caring mother with wonderful, kind children. I mean, Gran and the people she had helping her when she was away, wonderful. So obviously that's nice. That's not true of everybody, whether they have a paid job away from home or whether they stay at home. Some situations are when the parent works, the child might be disturbed. Sometimes the parent is at home and the child's disturbed. So all of that, it's not totally I don't believe it's totally whether the parent is at home all the time. Several things I'd like to say, though, both Elizabeth and occasionally you two using the word work. Being a parent is a job. It's a job that's full time. And to think that when people say, oh, that mother is leaving her child because she has a job, it doesn't quite make sense. She already had a job, but she's taking on another job in addition to the job of parenting. And she is therefore neglecting the job of parenting. I'm not saying it in a bad, mean, horrible way, but the word neglect is true. She will be given less time to the job of parenting. And that enters my mind a lot. I still say Elizabeth did great, and some people do. But overall, the other thing, so there were two things. What she said, she felt she was doing things for other people when she had a job away from home. As I started off today, I think, because I'm so aware of this country right now, having so many people who are disturbed. And I'm not the only one who thinks that. As we know, it's all over the news. There's more mental unhealthiness, children who are mentally unhealthy. What are we going to do about them? And we certainly know that we're the older people who are disturbed, who are hurting other people all the time. So doing something for somebody else can be done through parenting. What every parent does with every child affects more than just that one child. And Elizabeth certainly knows that too. I mean, every person in this world, Nellie, makes some difference overall. Sometimes it's a tiny difference. Sometimes it's a huge difference, a huge bad difference if it's mass murders, a small difference if it's hurting a few people, or if it's the opposite, helping. And who's going to help? A child who feels really secure and respected more than one who's not, although I think Elizabeth's children do feel that way, but some people don't when they have been left by the parent. About her children who also sounds wonderful. Your children sound dear. I love hearing the way you describe them. And I have not told you about mine, but I do. We had a son, and 2 years later, a little over 2 years later, a daughter, and both of them are fantastic. Without me telling you, I'll tell you how I happened to write. Was the school where they went asked me to write what I had done with them before they ever went to first grade. This was after they had graduated, after they had finished the 12th grade and finished college. But a director out there asked me to please write what I had done with them. And I didn't do it. I was still modest. then, but asked again very strongly, very sincerely. I got to work. And that book is the book that is so fantastic. A Present to the Newborn, it's called. It's really a present to a child any age. But that was what my husband and I had a wonderful husband too, as she sounds like she did, does, mine did. But what they're wonderful. And what I have written has been shocking to people over these years. And what I'm writing in this book coming up is shocking. What I wrote, as I say, in my first book is surprising, but people are so happy. Sometimes when I give talks or when I talk one-on-one to a person, I become a self-taught psychiatrist or psychologist or whatever. I mean, I've had one new friend, admirer of my philosophy said, Emily, I have been to 3 psychiatrists and paid lots of money and answered so many questions, and nobody helped me until you did immediately. And so that makes me feel that I'm on the right track, and I know I am, because I know that kindness begets kindness. But anyway, the book has sold and sold, that book called A Present to the Newborn, and I was named the full-time homemaker of the year for the state of Virginia, and went out to St. Louis along with one person from each state in the country to get that honor and get some talks. So I just think it's helping everybody when a parent helps a child. And not every parent has the energy that Elizabeth might have, it seems she has, because you want to do a good job for your paid job and want to do a good job with the child, as a mother, that job. And then if you're married, you want to do a good job with the husband too, because that matters to the child, right?
Very good points. So we are talking with Emily Slinguff and Elizabeth Hauser, and we've been discussing, should mothers forego work to stay home to raise their children? And we've had a very good discussion here, but it's time for us to have our concluding thoughts. Elizabeth, what are your closing thoughts on this topic?
I will say that it wasn't always easy. I had to find a balance. I did have, some guilt at times leaving my child. But I'm looking back since we've been talking, and I feel like I showed them what good work ethic is. I showed them how to love my child more. My kids couldn't be any more loved than anyone. But also that I had value. I was able to contribute to our household. And I stay-at-home moms, everyone has value. I don't want to say anything bad in that way, because I feel like parenting is the most important job. I just feel like, looking back, I was able to show them that I could be their mom and I could do things for other people as well. They knew I was always there. I was flexible in my schedules, so I could be there when they needed me at any point. And I could be there, for their dad as well. And I also feel like with me continuing to work, I've been a valued member of my community, and now I'm being chosen to be on, the county board and things like that, where I can make a difference well on past, them being raised.
I think you're also sponsoring a golf tournament. Can you tell us about that a little bit?
The golf tournament that we sponsored, yes, my husband actually passed away last year, and we had our memorial scholarship. We're doing a scholarship. I'm sorry. We were doing a memorial golf tournament to fund the scholarship. And so my husband being in law enforcement and our oldest going into law enforcement, he's a police officer. He's been for 3 or 4 years now. That's very near and dear to our hearts and our family. And there's not enough support, I don't think, for law enforcement these days. So we are giving scholarships to high school graduates that are going to college to become police officers. We're also using some of the funds to purchase things like a vest for a canine, things that are needed in the law enforcement community. But I do things every day in my community to help anywhere I can.
That's very good work. Emily, closing thoughts that you might have?
Wow, I just think she's done a great job. Her words are good. And I think she's fortunate. Some mothers who choose to take on another job and neglect the job of parenting, neglect it more than Elizabeth has. I think of myself, and people think I'm energetic, but I'll look back. If I had, even years ago when the children were young, if I had been away from them all day long and came home at 5 or 5:30 at night, I would have been tired. I would not have had the energy that I had, to say, oh, tell me what you learned in school today, and enjoyed them. It was a pleasure for me too, but I would have been not as good a parent because I would have been tired, and I would have wanted to fix my husband's dinner, and he would have wanted some loving from me, and I would have certainly wanted to give the loving to the children, and he would have wanted me to do that too. I just would not have been able to do it. And I don't know that there are as many people as good as Elizabeth at doing it. It's mighty hard to be tops at all of that. And if we want to be tops, we certainly want to be tops with helping our children, because heck, we know, I mean, I've said it, that helping a child is helping many, many other people. I don't think that the child whose mother stays home would certainly think that the mother is less caring about other people at all. But I know that, as Louis Mercado said in a book I like called The Right to Be Intelligent, he said the world can be no better than the people in it. And so we want to concentrate on the people being happy with life, their own life and the lives of others, so that this will be a more peaceful place instead of a place full of violence.
Excellent. Now, with your book that's coming up, if people were interested, how could they find that?
Well, I'm not sure when it's going to come out, when it's at the publisher, we don't know for sure, but I hope it'll be by November, maybe October, but probably November. And my website is good, and it's good to order. That first book is dynamite. I mean, everybody who reads that first book just thanks me. People, the other day I was talking to somebody who didn't know I'd written the book, and she said, "You wrote that book?" I've kept it in my room. It is why I have two fantastic sons. It's what I read in your book. And other people have told me they kept it in their child's room so they could read it all the time. It's short, not wordy, called A Present to the Newborn. Both books, all my books, well, not the one that hadn't come out, but will be on Amazon. But it's easy to order from our website, which also has some good YouTube videos and easy to read blogs. It's an incredible website. Web.com has done a good job with me over the years. It's emilyslingloff.com. emilyslingloff.com. And the books are on there. You can click on the book just to read more about it and order it right there if you want to.
Awesome.
I'll tell you enough, I want people to read it, because not to make a few dollars for me, but because anybody who reads it will be helped, will be a parent that has a child who is happy with life.
Well, I would like to thank both of you, Emily and Elizabeth, for joining us today. We have two strong, more conservative Christian women, and I understand both widows now, who are showing us how, even if you disagree on a topic, you can discuss that topic respectfully and maybe learn something in the process. I think this is really important because we live in a country now that's very highly polarized. People disagree, disagree in hurtful ways, and don't discuss things with each other when we come to an impasse on what it is that we're talking about. And I think that it's very important for us to be able to discuss topics, stay connected and engaged with people that we disagree with, and know that ultimately we're all people and we all have something important to contribute. Thank you very much.